Welcome back to the show. We've been talking a lot about first-time home buyers and the program, which kicks in this week.
But again, it's not. I mean, as much as it's a first-time home buyer incentive program, clearly it's not. Because if you don't own a home for 4 years, you can buy it, and it could be a second, a third, or fourth home for you.
Or a matrimonial breakdown, like we talked about. So it's really not just a first-time home buyer.
It's to get back into the market.
Get rid of the first part, home buyer incentive program. Just call it home buyer incentive program, because really that's what it is. It's intended to spur on activity for homes. I think it's going to make realtors. Obviously, GTA, Vancouver will have nothing to do with this program because max income is 120, and if you're buying from a builder, max purchase price will be in the 550, 560 range, including the down payment. So,
which nowadays is a small single. It's a small single,
but nothing in Toronto. I mean, absolutely
you can't get a condo
unless you're in the outskirts.
Like you get a condo in Toronto for that?
Probably hard. Well, but again, it's a closet.
Yeah, like Frank says, this program is mainly for the
rest of Canada.
Montreal. The rest of Canada is minus Vancouver and Toronto.
Small communities will really benefit from this. The Maritimes will benefit from this program because it's, again, I mean, their incomes aren't quite where they are here, but the property values are down. But it's still, the lower the income, the tougher it is to get in. And if you can increase your down payment somehow and take advantage of this program, I think it might be able to get you into homeownership. And let's help young Canadians get into homeownership.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, the stress test has killed home ownership for young people, young Canadians, that's for sure. But hopefully this changes things. I mean, our market needs to change. It's hard to be negative in a market that we're in right now because it's an amazing market for sellers. It's just, I mean, some of my agents that are predominantly working with buyers, they don't get a ton of listings. They're down and they're grumpy. Like, they're grumpy and down.
It's an uphill battle, though, isn't it?
It is an
uphill battle. If you're showing homes, I mean, you've got to fight for every house that you want to be a part of.
Listings are king right now, and I always tell my agents, like, we need to sharpen our skills so we're razor sharp because you need those listings in order to, obviously, to sell homes. Right now, this is going to shock you, Steve, but how many listings do you think my team is carrying right now? Well, in any other year, how many listings would my team carry right now?
130, 150.
Maybe this time of year we begin about 110, 120. What do you think we're carrying right now?
48.
30.
Wow.
Get out.
30 listings. But then I take a look at some of my some competitors in the city, like other big teams and that, and they're carrying like 7 and 8. So it's a really, really dry market for listings. Really
Has
dry
the
market.
and obviously there's a lot of people that are trying to sell on their own in the seller's market. That's probably impacted the numbers too, no?
Well, it's funny you say that. I took a look. I searched an area this week, and I just want to see what was in this area. I won't say what area it is, but it was a certain area of the city. It was a suburbia area, and I wanted to see what was on the market. And I noticed there was a trend with people trying to sell their own home and how long they've been on the market. And they're like, oh, geez, that's listed with certain so-and-so. Oh, geez, so-and-so. Oh, geez, so-and-so. Been on the market for 2 months. If your home is on the market in this market, you have a problem, a big, big problem. So even in a really good market like this, you still need a solid representation, a solid agent to get your home sold and get you top dollar.
So if you're in one of the popular markets, the Barhavens and Canadas, and you have, basically the wheelhouse home,
yep.
How long before you think it should sell? A month and a half?
Depends on how you price it. We still see some people trying to go for these home runs. I mean, not only was their house last year worth, let's say, $350, and now it's worth $450. They're putting it on at $499. Like, they're still trying to hit that home run, and you can't do that. You still have to price your home according to what the comparables show. Where you get the advantage is when you list with a really good agent who's going to get you top dollar for your property, because there's a big difference between just listing your home and selling it for a certain amount and listing your home and getting way over asking. And we're getting lots of times where we're actually dealing with the seller. This happened last week. We have to deal directly with the seller, and my agent calls and says, I would like to show your property. I think I have an offer for you. Oh, we're already dealing with an offer. We'll call you if it falls apart. Yes. Yeah.
Crazy market, though. Well, Paul, you're going to like to hear this because Kathy McDonald wrote back, and it pains me to say this. Her first 3 words pain me. It says, Paul is right. I know, it pains me to say that.
What was I right
about? The marital breakdown.
Of course I'm right.
Yeah. Even common law, though. She put even common law relationships. Now, I don't know how do you prove common law. I guess if you've done your tax return common law, I imagine there's got to be a way to prove that you're in a common law relationship. But otherwise, I can see people saying, yeah, I'm in a common law relationship and I broke up. And, I imagine they're going to want some kind of proof, but maybe not. But you know, at the
Trust
end of
me,
the day,
if you're in a common law relationship and you're breaking up, there's a paper trail.
yeah, you'd like to think so, but again, if there's no kids and you just equally split the stuff, you don't have to go through, I don't think, a separation agreement or anything. So, but it'll be interesting to see, again, as the details continue to come out, we'll see how much paperwork we'll have to gather to be able to back up what we say.
I didn't even hear what Frank said. So
No,
the
I
only
know.
thing I heard
No,
was
no.
Paul was right. You
No,
know,
I said Paul is right.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Paul is right. That's all I heard. After that, I heard.
Doesn't happen often. That's how he
doesn't
accepts it
happen
so much.
often.
It doesn't happen often.
About as often as I buy breakfast, that's for sure.
Like we
Not
throw-
often. There we go.
Luckily, we never throw anybody under the bus on this show. Let's go to Lynn, who's got a land transfer tax question. Oh, Lynn.
I was just wondering what the land transfer tax is now, where it starts. I sort of recall last year they said anything that was brand new over 400, there was an additional land transfer tax.
No.
Wondering what the status is now.
No, nothing's changed on the land transfer tax. If you're a first-time home buyer and you've never owned a home, you get a $4,000 instant rebate at the lawyer's office if you're buying, again, you're a first-time home buyer in Ontario. It's not in Quebec, so I've had people call me if they're buying on the Quebec side. Quebec doesn't have the program, Ontario does. So it's a provincial program, and so if you buy for $368,000, there's no land transfer tax, because at $368,000 is where you get the $4,000 mark. Anything you buy above that, so I had a customer this week that bought for $375,000, their land transfer tax is going to be all of $200. So.
Okay, well, I was just wondering if I was to buy and for just me selling and trying to buy again.
You can't get a land transfer tax rebate. It is specifically, that program itself is specifically for first-time home buyer, and not only that, first-time home buyer in the world. I don't know how they can prove if you've owned a home somewhere else, but the wording on the program itself is you have never owned a home anywhere.
Lynn, you weren't talking about when they're proposing to bring in the double land transfer tax, are you?
No, what
Okay.
I was inquiring about was what is the rate of land transfer tax, because I worked for real estate lawyers many years ago.
Yeah.
Where it was an eighth of 1% for so many thousand.
Yeah.
Calculated that to that level.
It's still the same. So yeah, that hasn't changed. It's a certain 0.55% of the first 250, and then it goes up and gradually goes up. And obviously, as property values have gone up over the last 20, 30, 40 years, the calculations stay the same, but the land transfer taxes have gone up tremendously because the average home is much more expensive. So rule of thumb, we always say, is between 1 and 1.5%, which is what your land transfer tax is going to be of the value of your home, give or take.
Yeah, Frank's right. It's probably closer to 1.5 though. Eh?
That we've heard a lot. That part.
Oh,
Frank
geez,
is
did
right.
I just say Frank was right?
Yes,
Oh,
he did. Property values have.
Well, be glad you don't live in Toronto. You get double.
Yeah, you get double the land transfer tax. The easiest thing to do, Lynn, if you want concrete there, just Google land transfer tax and they'll
Yeah.
give you the answer. But bank on between 1 and 1.5 of your purchase price is a pretty safe bet on land transfer tax.
Yeah, Real Estate Board website has a great land transfer tax calculator that I use all the time, and you just key in the amount of the house that you're going to buy, and it tells you what the land transfer tax is. So, yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
Lynn.
well,
Lynn.
You know, it's funny when we talk about Toronto and the double land transfer tax and us proposing that for us. That would have really slowed down our market because they were proposing that as they were proposing the stress test too, weren't they? It was at the same time.
Even before. I
Even
think.
before. Like,
Yeah, they've done it a couple of times.
That's
They've
one
talked
thing you
about
got to
it.
give kudos to Jim Watson. It was
Oh,
barely out of
yes.
their mouth,
Yeah.
and he went, no
no
way.
chance. No chance. That would have crushed our housing market. Because can you imagine in Toronto, you're buying yourself a $1.5 million house and you
I had a
have
client that did it this summer.
double land transfer tax, like
$50,000 in land transfer tax.
Yeah.
just to put your name on a title.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Might as well just open the window and throw it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, no question. Land transfer tax is a lot of money. I mean, it's no different to me. I compare it to you buy a house, you got to pay this tax. It bothers me even more when you buy a car and you pay the tax on it, and then you trade in the car, and then they sell it, and you got to pay the tax on it again, even though that car's already been taxed once. So, but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I really think, Paul, I know the home buyer. We're going to call it the home buyer incentive program because it's not a first time. It's a home buyer incentive program, and I'd like to see them change that name on it. But I really think it's going to spur the market here. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how the market. The question is, are there enough listings to really allow it allow the market to take advantage of it, and that's going to be the big question.
And
Yeah, but that might change, right? Because as soon as you get that glut of first-time homebuyers coming onto the market,
I know those other homes have to be there. The inventory has
And
to
they
be
will.
there.
I strongly believe the inventory will, because I've done enough homework on the new home builder sites to know that people were pushed to new homes. They had to go in and buy new homes because there was no inventory in the market. And I know what their closing dates are lining up. So I strongly predict next year, the start of the year, starting in January, we are probably going to, are we going to have 6, 7, 800 homes, 8,000 homes on the market? Absolutely not. But I strongly believe that our January, February, March, and April next year will be much more listing heavy than it was this year and potentially even last year. So, which is good news. I mean, listen, we complain when there's a glut of listings on the market. We complain when there's not enough listings on the market. We're in the market the way it is. You just have to be able to adapt to this. You have
but
to.
we're just talking about listings. The market is very strong.
The market
Things
is-
are moving and prices are going up.
Well, so the number of sales year to date is up 3.6%. And so even listing starved market, we're still up 3.6%. And the average sale price is up 7.2. So it's still not crazy, the average sale price, but we know prices are going up, and we know the number of sales are going up as well. Where we're going to end the year at, we'll probably end at about 5, maybe 5.5% number of sales increase. And we'll probably end at about 10% average sale price increase, which is healthy.
It's pretty strong for Ottawa.
Well, last year in 2018, we were number of sales was up 10%. Average sale price was up 5.5. So that was healthy. So if we're up 10%, that would be 15.5% over in the last 2 years. The value of the home prices have gone up in Ottawa.
Not too shabby.
Well, listen, that's just in Ottawa. Like, we're talking about country, we're talking about everywhere. You break that down and you look at certain segments like the Barhavens, the Canadas, and all that. Oh, they're up way more than that. I mean, I think it's I think Britannia's up 23% or something. I think it's maybe 23. Don't quote me on that number. They're up 23%. That's crazy.
RBC Economist came out this week with a little article on there is no housing bubble happening in Canada.
No.
Whatever worry there was about it, in their opinion, is gone.
I've read a lot about the fact that a lot of people are saying there's no housing bubble.
No. Oh, yeah,
See,
it's
but
been- yeah.
the thing is, I don't look at the Canadian stats as much as I look at our local stats, because the Canadian stats include the Vancouvers, the Torontos. I look at our local stats, but there is no housing bubble, definitely in Ottawa, in Canada either.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back on CFRA. So the consensus is we're thinking this might be a good program. What do you think it's going to do in the next couple of months? How long will it take before we realize if it's had an impact or not?
I think we'll really get the true impact of it next spring. I really think that next spring is when it's really going to hit really hard. I think we're going to get, just like every program, right? People wait for it, it comes on, everybody gets on board and does it. I think what's hurting it now is the lack of inventory that's out there, and if there's not a lot of townhomes for sale, then it's hard for first-time home buyers to get into a property. So, I think we'll really feel the impact. And like Paul said, I mean, if all these new homes are ready in April, May, and these are people that are selling their existing homes and they're going up to single homes next April or May, we'll probably see a whole bunch of townhomes on the market in January, February, March, and that's when those first-time home buyers will probably take advantage of a program, which, again, I know that there's critics out there of this program and there's other agents that are knocking it, but I believe, and other real estate agents and other mortgage agents that are knocking it, but I think they're wrong. If they do the numbers on this, this is a very good program, and it's going to, I think, be very successful.
So what's the maximum mortgage amount is $480?
$480 is the maximum mortgage amount.
Maximum mortgage amount. Okay.
4 times your income, right? So 120 times.
So
and again, if your income is $100,000, you can still possibly get a $480,000 mortgage because you can qualify for it. It's not, exactly the 4
So
times.
that's a lot of homes that can qualify for that. Like, it's not just townhomes that are going to qualify for this.
Yes.
I mean, it's townhomes, small singles. Like, you're not going to get the
you
big
get in the
homes.
outskirts, you can get single
Absolutely.
homes for 400,
Yeah.
450,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it may be a good program. Obviously let's wait and see. The numbers are saying it's a good program.
Yeah, but if it
Paul,
all
jump
works
on the
out,
train, Paul.
if-
You'll see it's going to work out. Jump on this train.
If it all
It's a
works
good
out, if the
program.
stars align, come the spring, we could be in for a very robust market if this
Yeah.
has an impact and people are starting to all of a sudden, now we start getting some listings again.
Yeah, let's hope, because I'd love to see some more listings on the market. So, just to rehash, September 2nd is when you can apply for this, but you can't close before November 1st.
Yeah.
You have to be a first-time home buyer. You have to be.
No, let's
on.
get rid of the first time
Within
home
4
buyer.
years.
Yeah.
Within 4 years.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
I was giving you the 3 possibilities: a first-time home buyer, sort of a separation or a matrimonial breakup, or someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it in a nutshell. So again,
So you've got to, you say the second is when you can apply. That means you need a deal in place, right? You've got to wait till you,
well, you can get pre-approved, and
can you?
We
So
certainly pre-approved.
you don't necessarily need to have the actual house to apply for this
I don't
program?
think so.
No. Well, you're not applying for the program until you've got a purchase agreement in place.
That's
But
what I'm
what
saying.
we can
That's
do,
what I'm
and what
saying.
we will be doing, is doing a pre-approval and running numbers with our first-time home buyers and saying, here's if you just put your own 5% and you don't take advantage of the program, here's what your payments are going to be like. If you do take advantage of it and you're buying a resale, let's add another 5% down payment, interest-free, and here's what your payments will look like. And if you're buying from a builder, let's add the 10%. Let's take the 10% interest-free, and let's use it, and let's see what your numbers look like.
So for a first-time home buyer that hasn't been paying attention and they have a closing date of October 15th, should they be trying to extend this past November now? And
If they
see-
want to be a part of the program, then they definitely should. try
And
to
the
extend
vendor
it.
has to, at this point, if you've got a firm agreement, the vendor would have to say, yeah, I'm okay with it. Then
Might be worth
I'll let
looking
you
at,
close
though.
November 2nd.
The problem being, even though you can apply September 2nd, you can't close before November 1st. Because of this robust market, we're getting a lot of quick closings. Like
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of sellers that are demanding a 30-day closing, 45-day closing. So to wait till November 1st, in old markets, that was normal. 30, 60, 90 days was kind of like your sweet spots. Now there's a lot of 30-day closings right now.
Could be a bargaining chip, though, if you're selling. Yeah, I'll sell.
Well, I always say someone has to win on price and someone has to win on closing date. It's a win-win, right? If the seller wants more money, he might have to bend a little bit on closing date and vice versa. So this is just another bargaining chip. If they want more money, if they want to pay more money, well, I want my date.
Yeah. That's why you have to keep an eye on the market all the time, right?
The market changes. People say, like, when does the prices go up and down in the market? I'm like, as soon as someone buys and sells. Like, it shifts the market right away. And that's why if you're someone who's doesn't have your pulse on the market and you're not looking at what's going on in the market every single day, you're gonna be left behind. You need to, and especially in this market with technology, now you have to be able to adapt and change like on the fly.
And
Otherwise,
if you're an agent, you got to keep an eye on the listings you have because there's changes happening all the time in values, right?
all the time, a house could hit the market tomorrow that's $10,000 less than your house, and it could sell for $5,000 under asking. You just have to adjust your price now. The market has shifted. The market has changed right there. So you've got to keep an eye on what's going on around your area. And you take a look at someone like Barhaven. There's all sorts of different segments in Barhaven, Canada, Orleans, all sorts of different segments, but they all correlate to your property. So it doesn't have to be just sort of like Bridalwood in Canada. All of Canada helps shift your market, so you better keep an eye on the market.
So now traditionally September to December, are people wanting to get into homes before Christmas? Does that still make a big difference?
Big difference, yeah.
So we should see some movement in the next couple of months.
Yeah, usually our September and October are very strong. They're strong months. November slows down a little bit. But like I always say, if you're selling your house in November and December, someone's looking at your house, they're a serious buyer. No one's looking at homes in November and December unless you're a serious buyer.
Well, and in this market, it may be a whole new ball game, right?
You know what? It's this market is so weird. I can't even predict what September, December is going to be like. I really can't. Usually I can. I think it's still going to be a hot market. I still think it's going to be a strong seller's market coming into next year. Potentially a balanced market.
Now, speaking of predictions, Bank of Canada meets this week. Expect a flat, so no change. And then the next one after that is the beginning of November, and that's where right now the odds say that prime rate might come down by a quarter point.
Mm.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.